drought having broken, the fresh water is still a precious resource of which we have very, very little. Of all the water that we have on the planet, I think only about 3% of it is fresh water, and then only 1/3 of 1% is available for use, and the rest is either in ice, glaciers and icebergs, or deep in the earth and out of reach. And if you put it another way, if all of the water on Earth was represented in 100 litres, half a teaspoon would be available for our use. So really, only a tiny amount of what we have is available for our use. And so, of course, regardless of the drought, it makes sense that we try and use as little of this precious resource as possible and not waste what we have. And then, the second part of the workshop is about improving the quality of water flowing into our waterways. And this is a really important topic because in our cities especially, there's more concrete, there's buildings, there's driveways, there's roads, so there's heaps more runoff than there ever was. There's a lot of water flowing into our waterways, more than what is natural for those waterways, and with that water is a lot of pollution. A lot of pollutants flowing into the waterways, so all the bird poo off the roof, all the rubbish that's in the street is all flowing into our waterways. So that represents two problems. We've got too much water flowing into our waterways, and the water that's flowing into there is carrying a lot of pollution as well. So tonight's workshop covers both of those things. It's about saving water at home, and it's about improving the quality and reducing the quantity of water flowing into our waterways. And we're going to hear from all of our speakers tonight about what each and every one of us can do to help and do our little bit in both of those areas.
There's different ways of going about it, and I think by just trying to conserve what we've got instead of trying to create more is a much better way to go. So Council's certainly done a lot in that area. Council certainly, I think, have led the way in stormwater harvesting and trying to preserve our water. So
this is a good slide to sort of get us thinking about what Sam was talking about, how little accessible fresh water there really is. So if the Earth here, this big sphere, is representing how much salt water there is on the Earth, in comparison, that first blue circle is showing how much fresh water there is compared to saline. And then the last circle there, I hope you can see that little tiny circle on the end, that's actually the amount of accessible fresh water, the amount of fresh water we can access. And that's sustaining our lives as well as what we share with the rest of the planet of living organisms, plants and animals. Well, we live in Australia, which happens to be the driest inhabited continent on the planet. So Antarctica is the driest continent, and we are the driest inhabited continent. So basically, half of the water use in the home is shower and toilet together. And between 20 to 35% is outdoor use. So most of the water is being used in the bathrooms and outdoors, and a typical house in Melbourne uses 250,000 litres a year, which is like 5 swimming pools full. Along with lovely new types of features in our house that are water saving, we also need to be thinking of water saving behaviours, and a lot of people are already clued into that. So shorter showers, not leaving the tap running when you're brushing your teeth, or rinsing something, you just fill up something and rinse it. So with that, there's also a lot of supportive technology that we can be using and changing over in our houses. So this is really an amazing initiative by the government. So the Victorian government has committed $40 million over the next 4 years to extend water efficiency rebates. So there are a range of things in here, and you can get money back for doing some of these major water saving adjustments to your house. So rain tanks are great for locally harvesting rainwater, and you can get them plumbed to your toilets. So a lot of schools and a lot of houses, we have that at Ceres as well. So the rainwater is in your toilet rather than drinking water, and that's excellent. There's also something called the Huey sink, which has been designed to fit directly into most conventional sinks. And you can see, you wash your vegetables or your fruits, or just if you're rinsing your hands, and then just take that water, take the Huey sink out, put it in your garden. As simple as that. So you can get those at the Enviro shop. The Enviro shop is just on High Street, and they are very, very helpful. They have all sorts of also handouts and information on all sorts of sustainability technology, and they're so knowledgeable. So you can go there and just talk with them about your inquiries and possibilities.
So yes, I'm here tonight to talk about the 10,000 Rain Gardens program that we're encouraging people to get involved with all across Melbourne. Nitrogen, too much nitrogen, can cause algal blooms, and this is bad for both our rivers and for the ocean. It's a flow-on effect, so whatever comes out of our rivers ends up in the ocean and keeps on damaging our environment. And a big contributor to this nitrogen and phosphorus is actually bird poo and possum poo off our roof. Now, if we think back to that slide that Tiff showed of before and after urbanisation, the bird poo and the possum poo, birds and possums obviously are meant to be in the bush. So when they poo in the bush and it rains, that's going to be soaked up by, mostly soaked up by the plants, and then the soil filters that water. So the water that's going into our waterways is clean. Sure, there might be a little bit of bird poo and possum poo going in there, but not as much as from our urbanised areas. Because if we look at this lovely suburb that we have here, look at all the roof space and how little areas of green there are. So there's so few areas to soak up those excess nutrients. And our roofs can't do it, the pipes can't do it, the roads can't do it. So all of that water ends up straight in our waterways, completely untreated. And that's where we get our algal blooms coming in and causing a problem for our animals and plants that live in the river. But once again, looking at the urban environment, the roofs can't absorb the water, the roads can't, our pipes can't, so it all goes rushing down into our waterways. And we're just getting this huge volume that travels really, really quickly. So that causes a lot of problems. If we have a look here, in the picture on the right-hand side, we can see the problem with the quantity of water. So when we have this large volume, obviously it's going to move much faster. There's a lot more force behind that water. So it's stripping away the riverbanks, leaving us with these exposed roots. Many of these trees would not be able to survive long term because they just don't have sufficient root structures in the ground. So they're not getting the nutrients they need to survive. Rain gardens are one way to treat that water, and the council, Banuyle, has been doing a great job of putting in rain gardens all across the council. So I've got a few public rain garden photos here, and I'll just flick through these. So these are helping to treat the stormwater as it comes off the road, and I will talk a bit more about how the rain gardens work. But this is a great way to clean up that public stormwater. So that stormwater that you mentioned earlier that's not being utilised, that's running down our streets, this is one way to utilise that and to minimise the impact that it's having on our waterways. A rain garden is basically a natural filtration system. So it's trying to mimic the effect of the bush on our stormwater. So it's reducing the flow of the water and also increasing the quality of the water that's leaving our properties. There's two important features of a rain garden. One is the different layers of rock and sand, and two is the plants that you choose to put in your rain garden. Now these both have filtration effects, filtration qualities. So a rain garden works by having your downpipe disconnected over the top of your garden. So you can see on this model here, your downpipe just has a holes cut in there, very simple, and is disconnected over the top of your garden. So instead of it all rushing down the drain and going straight into our waterways, this downpipe is disconnecting the water and letting it filter through the rain garden. And this is where the different layers of rock and sand are really important. So up the top, we have a rock mulch. Now, please, I can't stress this enough, it's very important. We're trying to improve the health of waterways. So question where your rock mulch is coming from your suppliers. We don't want to see river pebbles ending up in our rain gardens. The harvesting of river pebbles is degrading waterways around the world. The next layer underneath is 1/3 topsoil and 2/3 sand. Now this combination is very important because the sand is quite porous, so it does need to drain quite quickly, as you will have a lot of rain coming into your rain garden. But also this combination encourages a type of bacteria to grow in there, so that bacteria has filtration qualities as well, and also the sand itself has a filtration effect. The next layer down is just a whitewashed sand layer. So just sand that you can get at your garden supply centre. This is just to create a buffer between the soil layer and the gravel at the bottom. So you've got your gravel here, and this is where you have a reconnection back to stormwater. So in the bottom, you can have an Aggie pipe or just a PVC pipe with slits cut in it at the bottom to connect back up to stormwater. So the water is still leaving your property, but it's much, much cleaner than it would be coming straight off your roof, and it's moving much more slowly.
We can reuse our water, so grey water obviously. We can create more supply by generating more from the roof or reusing. Now the next really important point is that there is no shortage of water in Melbourne even during the drought. What we do is waste all the water that we've got. There is no shortage of water on the drought, okay? The average roof in Melbourne will give you about 200,000 litres a year of water, probably 100,000 in the drought. Does everyone know how much water they need in a year? If you use 150 litres a day, then technically it's about 50,000 litres a year. These are called Raingardens, apparently. I had no idea it was called a rain garden. I thought it was called disconnecting up your stormwater to feed the garden. You can see this is coming down the side here and just draining into here, and it mulches out my garden and works quite well. I did this 10 years ago, so now that I know there's a name for it. And you know, no one's actually having these conversations about how bad swimming pools are. So I just wanted to bring that up and say, look, if you've got a swimming pool, you need to do two things. You need to put a cover on it in summer to stop the evaporation, which will stop your evaporation by about 99%. And you need to put in a rainwater tank to top it up, because anything else would be irresponsible. Every night I go to sleep and I know I'm not killing the Murray.
That's what you do.
I sleep soundly. You know, I know that I'm not stealing water out of the Gippsland lakes and seeing all the fish die. That to me is worth a whole lot more than 15 years of money. Money what can you do with money?